Good afternoon. My name is Whitney Clark. I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council District 5. I am so grateful and honored that you would spend a moment with us today. We are getting ready to talk about the verdict that we have been watching. This Diddy trial is something, every so often there are cases that almost like arrest the public's attention, and for so many different reasons, uh, we've been watching the Diddy case, and so we are getting ready to listen to the verdict. Let's check it out.
4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We do have breaking news of the verdict that has now been reached in the criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The jury delivering a mixed verdict, acquitting him of the most serious charges that carried life in prison that he was facing. Lee Waldman is outside the courthouse in Manhattan with the latest.
The jury in the federal trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has come to a verdict. Guilty on the charge of transportation to engage in prostitution, but not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. The jury, made up of 8 men and 4 women, heard from 34 witnesses called by the prosecution, including 2 of Combs' former girlfriends, Cassie Ventura, and a woman testifying under the alias Jane.
All right. So here's the thing, and I think this is the public consensus that most people had. Now, whenever you're talking about like domestic violence, LGBT, like there are certain issues that we as people almost can't talk about. They're so taboo that we almost have to allow the public consensus or the emotional, the emotions to subside before we can kind of speak truth to power. But I know in the circles that I've been speaking in, the people that I've been communicating with off the record concerning this trial, for the most part, said that what he did to, you know, Cassie, what we saw in the video, was absolutely abhorrent and ugly and nasty and criminal, maybe even criminal. But based on the information that was made available to the public regarding the reason that he was on trial, the public consensus, even if it was off of the record, was that this was a reach. The public consensus amongst regular everyday people was that although what he did to Cassie was abhorrent, it was criminal, it was our understanding that that was a part of the settlement. And we know what rich people go through in this country. We know that the rich don't necessarily play by the same rules. Now, is that something that we are getting ready and that we're trying constantly to fight against? Certainly so. Particularly when it speaks to things that aren't like, I can't narrow it down because obviously these cases are so nuanced and the details are so, the devil's in the details. And so I can't just say, I don't want to paint this with a broad stroke, but my point is that we do believe that people like that, celebrities, to a certain extent, live by a different set of rules, and so it's fascinating to see that this gentleman was facing so much time in court when it seems as though he had already paid his dues. Let's check out this a little bit more.
Both women testified Combs forced them to engage in sexual encounters referred to as freak-offs and hotel nights. Ventura spoke on the stand about violence she endured throughout the course of her 11-year relationship with Combs. Jurors watched this hotel surveillance video from 2016 showing Combs dragging and kicking Ventura several times throughout the course of the trial.
And we did hear journalists and we heard, political analysts express why this video and the public seeing this video was important. We did hear people try to connect the dots and say, okay, well, this video is significant in the case because of XYZ, and this was the day, and da, 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 da. Nevertheless, for the most part, in the public, showing this video so religiously, I'm talking about what I heard in the streets now, it compromised I don't think it added to the public consensus. A lot of this is about the court of public opinion. A lot of this is about a court of public opinion. And so the media will put things out there and make them available to the public so that they can continue to try to shape the narrative. And I think the calculus was that putting this video out would paint Diddy in such a negative light that it would just kind of pour on, and whatever the other accusations that would begin to emerge, whatever they were, I think the public and therefore the jury would be more inclined to believe it because of what they're seeing. But that, I don't think that this video had that effect. This video being one of the centerpieces of what the media was using to paint the narrative around Diddy, this video kind of made us feel like you didn't have anything new. Like, what? Is this? Oh, wait. Is this the trial that he's on now? And again, that's a different argument from whether or not this is good. This is obviously assault. This is obviously abhorrent. This is obviously, despicable. Nevertheless, we're talking about what is the information? Where is the evidence? Where is the backstory that you have that justifies you sending him to prison for the rest of his life? Oh, this is it? Oh, something connected to this? I thought he paid money for this already. I'm confused now. And so I think that's kind of what happened to the public whenever they saw this video being used as one of the centerpieces that would shape the narrative around why he should be in jail for the rest of his life. Let's move forward a little bit more. See what thing? Hold on. Oh, I think it was just an extra piece. This. Yeah, it was some extra that was in there. I sent you that. Did you get that link? I sent you that link. Oh, that's right. Okay, we'll hop on the link whenever you get to the house because I'm streaming right now. And whenever you get home, then you'll pop right up. I'll talk to you in a minute. Bye bye. All right. Let me see. Oh, battery. I can't change anything about that. Alrighty. So again, I think that's what we are. That's where I'm at with that. I don't feel like this video was. We heard it leaking in the media, and keep in mind, like, obviously they obviously have the easiest opportunity to tilt the scales when it as regards to the way that they tell the stories. Oh, I was in the courthouse. I was in the courtroom today when these questions were asked XYZ, and there was this type of reaction. Blah, blah, blah. That is the storyteller almost coaching you into how to feel and almost letting you know what was important. And sometimes that's propaganda, or sometimes that is skewed by the journalist's perspective. And then other times it's just storytelling. And I'm saying that because as this trial was playing out and we were hearing more and more about what was going on in the courtroom, journalists and storytellers and narrators were saying, I don't know how strong the prosecution's case is. That's what they continue to say. And then you would even hear things after, the prosecutor, rested their case. You would hear journalists and professional talkers say, if Diddy walks away, this won't be a shock because they didn't just nail it. They didn't really, drive the point home. And so, again, for this to be the video that was used as the turning point, and it wasn't a new video to the public, I don't think that helped the public perception in a way that would have allowed the public to be okay with the verdict. And so therefore they couldn't, amongst other reasons, obviously. This is not only about the public perception, but you had better believe the public perception plays a major role into what happens in these high-profile cases.
His attorney read a statement from her after she testified.
I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up.
Combs' defense team never denied allegations of domestic abuse, but instead argued the two women participated willingly in the sexual encounters. Jurors heard from Combs' former personal assistants.
And it's a question that it's a question that we've got to ask a little bit more vigorously in the public is, and I'm not certain this case is a, you know, I don't want to trip myself over too many disclaimers. I'll just say what I say, and you feel how you feel based on, you know, how well you know me and know what my intent is for making this comment. But we've got to start asking ourselves how long a victim can be a victim before they become a collaborator, in a sense. Like, and I'll give you an example, and I'm happy to turn to this example because this does not involve a woman. This involves another man. I think you may have heard something about the Tyler Perry case and da 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 da. And I was listening in on that and what some of the accusations were, and it occurred to me, and maybe I felt this way about this because it was a man. And so I'm challenging our listeners and people just in the public space to re-examine this. When I heard that young man's story and how many times he allegedly, you know, how many times he alleged that Tyler Perry transgressed him in a sexual way or in an aggressive way, when I heard about how many times he did it and how like long it took for the guy to call him out, man, at some point it's like you're part of that. Like you're almost teasing them, you know? I mean, and again, abuse is abuse and what's wrong is wrong. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Again, the question is a very nuanced question. And the reason that I see a similarity between that case and this case is because, you know, based on the details that we got, there were certain moments where we felt like, you know, Cassie was an accomplice, you know, and in the case with, you know, Tyler Perry, it seems as though a lot of the abuse or a lot of what he alleged took place may have never happened had you called it out in the beginning and made it abundantly clear, or, you know, and again, details about that case are emerging. So if he did or if he didn't, or when he did or when he didn't, I think we'll begin to understand that as the details kind of come out more. Nevertheless, my point in the common thread that I believe I'm pulling at here in both of these cases is we've got to speak truth to power a little sooner, because what happens in the public's eye, and we don't have all the details, but what happens in the public's eye is it appears as though you are an accomplice that didn't get everything that you wanted, right? Or that you were just, you know, you were an accomplice in a sense. And so I think that's what may have played a part, at least in the public consensus. And keep in mind, these are everyday people. These jurors are everyday people from the public. And so we hope and pray they weren't too deeply immersed into the case before, but certainly they probably heard Diddy's name. Certainly they probably know about, you know, their relationship. And so, yeah, interesting. Let's press forward.
A male sex worker and other former employees. The defense rested its case after less than 30 minutes, only reading text messages into the record. Combs did not testify.
Lee Waldman reporting there, and the prosecution will seek a 20-year maximum sentence for Combs. The judge is yet to decide if Combs will be released pending sentencing. We will continue to follow this case and keep you updated as we learn more.
Should he sit in jail until he's sentenced? I think absolutely not. Listen, and really one of the reasons that I'm doing stories like this, you know, this time in my life is very interesting because I'm running for public office as well. And so when you speak to these issues, you run the risk of like making people think that you're crazy, quite frankly. But it's also even the more imperative for the public to have and hear voices who are just in the middle. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you'll agree with a group, and then on a different issue, you'll disagree with that same group. My philosophy is that no wealthy person has to sit in jail to await their sentencing. That's a public thing. That's a thing. That's a media spectacle. Celebrities turning themselves in voluntarily for prison. Like that's a thing that he should be able to get as well. Everybody else gets it. And so, while we work to remove the the two justice systems that exist, and obviously there are more than two, but there is a a justice system for the wealth class and there's a justice system for everyday people. Diddy's in the wealth class. And I think my position is that he shouldn't be treated any differently than any other person of wealth or influence when this happens. And when this happens, people of wealth and influence get to go home until sentencing. And so, that's my position, my perspective on that. Oh, we got somebody in the room.
Around the air, and of
Hold
course,
up, let me see what we got. Boss man, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome in. Hey, listen. Hey, I want to welcome in my friend Ayo here from Houston, Texas. How's it going, bud?
I'm good. I got the camera off because my background's a little messy, but you invited me, right? So I just
Yes,
joined.
it's on, but
Chime in
it's
on.
it's turned around. Your camera's on. It's just turned around.
No, but I got it. I got the camera off because the.
No problem. I'm currently reacting to the Diddy verdict. You're online. I mean, you're live, and so welcome in. Thanks for joining us here. I want your perspective on the Diddy trial. What have you heard? What is your perspective on him being acquitted on the biggest charges that he was facing?
Man, I feel like what's going on is he's being crucified for something. A lot of these, I don't want to make it a racist thing, but that's just, I'm just gonna have to bring this up. A lot of the Jewish producers, a lot of the white producers, a lot of the politicians have been doing this for years. I'm not saying it's wrong or right, but I think he ruffled some people's feathers and they tried to take him down in the best way they could, attack his pockets, attack his money, and attack his character. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. And for the most part, so you think that because of that, he should be innocent because this is more of a.
He he wasn't human trafficking.
Yes, that's what I
He
said.
I made a perfect analogy earlier. I was talking to my son. He said, "What if that was your friend?" I said, if I had endorsements and sponsorships, I couldn't outright say, "Hey, free my buddy,"
Yeah.
because he was beating on women. So you can't just put your face on there like I endorse people beating women and dragging them in
Right.
the hallway. He was wrong for that, but he wasn't sexual trafficking
Right.
nobody. He was inviting people to freak offs. They were showing up. They were being paid. He's
And
guilty of
somebody else
having.
just got. Oh, that's
He,
I was talking about this before you hopped on, and I don't know how much you know about what Tyler Perry is being accused of, but I was saying to myself, and I said this out loud, but I don't know if I was talking to anyone when I said it though. I said, well, if Diddy's going to be found guilty of all of this trafficking and RICO essentially, then there's I mean every celebrity who has traveled, you know what I mean, like traveled and had their girl come with them, or traveled and had their companion or their escort come with them. Anybody who's done that and crossed state lines or left the country, I mean everybody's done it, and so to your point, it's just kind of like you know,
he
being
was
a be-
guilty of being a freak.
there you go, there you go, and that's
He
it.
just
And
had
that
a big
is not
sex
something
party.
you yes, you can't send somebody to prison for the rest of their life for something like that. And so what happened? Does Diddy's life go back to normal? Does he just what do we see him at award shows again? Or does he go back to
Man,
Brother Love? Like what's next for Diddy?
he he was having freak offs, and they made it seem like he was dragging people from Mexico and putting guns to their
Hmm.
heads and making them do this. That's
Hmm.
what I don't agree about. I just don't agree how they try to kill his whole. his whole career because they put Rico on him about sex trafficking, human trafficking. If you willingly come, if you come and you're getting paid and you're a willing participant, that's a whole nother
It's a whole
subject.
different situation. Yeah, yeah.
You
I
can't you
agree
can't tell
wholeheartedly.
somebody you can't tell somebody that I'm sex trafficking some girls I met at a party and they jumped in my car and they came with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I invited more people and we all just started just getting at it, just going in. They were, hey, Mr. Ortega, this is sex trafficking. I'm like, no, 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 no.
No, it's not.
This is a party.
This is a party. This is a party. And here's the thing. This is separate from, what he did to Cassie, what we saw. And that's what I was saying a moment ago. It's just kind of like, I think something else that was not helpful to the prosecution is the fact that this same Diddy video that we've seen before was the one that they were trying to use to like they didn't have anything new for the public to like react to.
That's why I wanted to separate the two because, like I was telling my family earlier, I was like, I couldn't put my face on that. I couldn't put my face on the protection of that. Like I couldn't stand up and say, "Hey, free my homie on
Yeah.
this charge, beating a woman and that's just something I can't agree with." But on the other charges, I can say, "Come on, man, that's not what y'all are trying to call it." But it's just a fine line. It's a sensitive subject because he was beating that woman and dragging her in the hallway. So I mean, if I was famous and I was like, "Hey, free him. He don't deserve that on that charge," you would almost automatically lose
Associate with, yeah.
endorsements.
You think he did everything he did was okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a tricky
you
word.
you
Let me
you would
press
lose
forward on this.
endorsements
Yeah.
and you would lose money for saying that.
Let me press forward and see what they say here.
Always on clickondetroit.com. Closer to home, some scary moments on a DDOT bus this morning after a passenger stood up and shot another passenger before taking off. Local 4's
Did you hear
Lauren.
that? Did you hear that? You can hear that audio, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Hey, I got my camera off. That's not a problem, huh?
No. It's not. No, it's not a
It's
problem. Let's see
it's
here.
not affecting nothing, huh?
No, it's. I think we see your cat. Yeah, it's not on. No, you're good. I think you're good.
No, I just because I'm just staring at the wall because my house is a little messy right now.
Yeah, no, you're fine, brother.
I
No,
don't
no
got
good.
no media center. I'm just in the crib.
Nobody has a media center. That's where we're growing to in
Yeah,
Jesus' name. We're growing to a media center. I'm just sitting in front of my window, because I got this natural lighting, man. It's a nice day
yeah,
in the city, man. But let me see here. Yeah, it's a lovely day in the city, but they got a
yeah.
lot of they got a lot of stuff going on here, man, with the summertime violence and the summertime. That's really the main thing.
Just one more thing on the Eddie case, but the charges they charged him with still carry up to 10 years.
Yeah, they're
But
going to try to give him 20.
no, I don't think they're gonna stack them. They man, they can stack them. They can run concurrent or they can consecutive, whatever you call it. The concurrents are ran at the same time, or if they try to stack them, it's 20.
So
But
he's
come
still going to
on, man.
jail for a decade, like 6 or 7
He
years.
made that's the maximum sentence. That's the
But
maximum
if it's
sentence
10
is
years,
10 years.
can't they give him just like probation or something?
Man, bro, I think he's gonna get 5 and he'll be out in 2 and he'll get a little probation. They're trying to throw him in jail for the rest of his life for having sex. And
But it's something
yeah,
deeper than that, and that's
it
the
was
thing.
it was freaky. Don't get me wrong, it was freaky. But he had his own little freaky quirks or whatever have you say.
Yeah,
He liked to see his woman, he was basically a cuckold. So I mean, is that a crime? I wouldn't do it, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking.
no, I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly as far as to
It,
both sentiments. I wouldn't do it, but I don't think anybody should go to jail for it. So yeah,
10 years though, well, you would give somebody 10 years for being a freak. I don't know.
and that's what I was saying a moment ago. I think it's more so about the public consensus, and I believe that there is something psychological that happens to everyday people when they see those who they formerly thought as like powerful and influential. When they see them this way, I think it does something to the public psyche that the powers that be believe should they want to stay. Like it's to me, I feel like this is no different than like breaking somebody on a plantation. Like the idea in Hollywood that certain people are built up
Yeah.
and almost in the process of while they're being built up, you almost know that they are you almost know that they are good. You know that they've done something wrong, but it's just like, oh, the powers that be will continue to allow you to, do what you're doing until one day it's like it all comes crashing down. It's
And
like,
are we live?
yes,
I don't want to say nothing inappropriate, but it's
please
just
don't.
basically it's like they got a lot of big gay rights out, right? And they're
Mhm.
like protecting the gays and everything.
Mhm.
So, I ain't got no problem with gay people. I'm just gonna put that out there. But what I'm gonna say is like they're protecting the gays, but at the same time, when Diddy comes out as a black man and says, "Hey, I just want to see a little dingling," isn't that kind of gay in itself? So, hey, why don't we protect him too?
Well,
He,
you
I
got
bet you if
no.
I bet you if he came out and said, "Hey, I'm bisexual and I just like seeing dingling," they would be like,
You got a
"Well, would
point.
they have to say something
You
about it?"
got a point. You got a good
They have
point.
to be like, "Well, we can't bash Diddy for being bisexual because that goes against our point of views and all that type of stuff." So,
Yeah, I don't. I just, and we don't know. We don't know to the extent that this is true, but we did hear him say himself that you know. I heard him in another interview, and I hate that. I also hate that feeling. I also hate that feeling that like when people go on, when people get
oh, the mic, I can't hear you. It kind of muffled
No,
out.
you're good. Hold up. I stopped talking for like 2 seconds. What I was
I,
saying is,
I've heard Diddy call grown men daddy in interviews. He's like, "You like that, daddy?" I'm like, "Oh hell no."
hey man, to each his own, man. I don't judge. I say this is more metal, but yeah, no. My thing is like with the diddler. I just think that my boy is
The diddler.
the diddler. I just feel like, bro, like, come on, like, we all have these little, things, or I guess you can say.
Yeah, man. He just had a lot of power and a lot of money, and they wanted to knock him down.
But that's the thing that gets me. It's like, you're okay with it while you're okay with it. You know what I mean? And then at some point, it's like the powers that be aren't okay with what you're doing anymore. So now they're going to destroy you. Like that just seems a little
I,
messed up. It just seems a little messed up. You can do it. You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do.
they just didn't have enough on him, bro. They can't say he was bringing people from Mexico, and that's what trafficking is. Bringing women from Mexico or the DR or Colombia or Medellin and bringing them over here illegally
Hmm.
and then telling them, "Hey, I'm gonna get you a job," and the job is sex.
Hmm.
That's trafficking
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're misleading people, and that's what they were trying to charge him with.
And for that reason, amongst many other, I think that's why he
He's not
was
guilty.
and should have been acquitted. I'm gonna press forward here to a couple of more stories. These are a little bit more local in nature, but I definitely appreciate your common sense reaction to anything that you
Cool.
hear. But let me just press forward, and like I said, I
I'm
don't want
gonna
to go
I'm
ahead.
I'm gonna get off the call. I just wanted to see if it worked for future calls, and
Okay.
I'm gonna
Well, now
I'm
you
gonna
see
just
how it
grab
works,
it.
boss. And I thank you for
Yeah,
jumping in. Like I say, anytime you see that link that I sent you, just hop right in. And obviously,
cool.
you're more than welcome. All right, bro. Talk
That's
to you later.
cool. All right, peace.
All right, brother. All right. Good friend of mine. Thank you for jumping in. And our lines are open. Typically, these are pre-recordings that we do and kind of clip and do our thing and put them up in different spaces. And so, thank you for hopping on here. Let's press forward here. We're talking about a couple of other local stories that have been going on. So much going on in the city of Detroit right now, and so I want to push through some of these stories real quick.
She is live near 8 Mile in Sherwood, where this is all taking place. And Lauren, have you heard from police? I understand maybe not long ago.
Yes, we just talked to police not a long time ago, just a little bit ago, and we learned two main things. First, the victim. We now know he is a 26-year-old. He is currently in the hospital and is expected to recover. And second, the suspect. Police tell us he is still on the run this morning. They are still looking for him. But let me show you a little bit about where this happened. This is 8 Mile here, and this is the bus stop where it happened. Police say the suspect apparently approached the victim on the bus and shot him. And here's some video like you're looking at right now from earlier this morning. You can see the bus there and police tape as investigators tried to piece together what happened. Right now, they believe this was a random shooting with really no clear motive at this time. As for the suspect, like I said, Detroit.
My position on like what's going on in the city. Shout out to all our friends on different platforms. Hope that you're doing well. There is the psyche of our people has been systematically broken down over the years. Like the psyche of our people has been broken down, and it is corroded so much so that the way we treat each other is inhumane. It's inhumane. The things that we do, like I said, and I think we're going to hear about this in just a moment, that the suspects from the shooting on last Friday have been apprehended, or should I say people of interest have been apprehended. But my point is that when we begin to listen to the news, particularly in the city of Detroit, and you hear what the reporters are saying in these headlines, it is apparent that the psyche of our people has been broken and corroded over time. And we are at a place right now where we need early intervention in the minds and the lives of our young people, because you can see what happens when a person grows up their entire life seeing certain things as it regards to what they can become, and being in environments where things are so excessive you have no choice but to accept them as the norm. What that does to you psychologically when you hear music nonstop that tells you what you are, whether it tells you that you're smart or ugly, whether it tells you that you're right or that you're wrong, but for you to hear it in one way or the other, and then to see the images and the people that have been swapped out as our religious leaders, our thought leaders, our philosophers, right? When you look at the fact that we used to have philosophers, we used to have, maybe leaders that we felt were not bought out, right? When we look at the quality of our music and who is allowed to be at the top of the food, it all works together in a collaborative, coordinated way to rock to sleep the consciousness of your spirit. Constantly seeing these things in the news, constantly hearing the same things in the music, constantly being reminded of them in the media, being reminded of it when you encounter police. Education being the way that it's like it all works together in a way that is not good for us. And then what happens when we encounter each other, this trauma, this uninformed narrative about who we are and who we can be and the way we should see ourselves, and consequently the way we should see each other. All of these things, they create this perfect storm of emotional instability an inclination to negative sentiment, a proclivity to violence, an inability to talk through one's conflict, and it results and it looks like this in real time. And so we need structural change. We need systemic change to take place in the hearts and the minds of the people here in this region of the country, but more broadly in the entire country. Let's take a look.
Police say he ran off the bus, got a ride from someone passing by. Take a listen.
He ran back down westbound 8 Mile and then crossed behind me. Was attempted twice to get picked up by someone. The second individual picked him up, took him to the area of Mound and Davison where he got out. We have good still photos of him. We're going to get that to you as soon as we can get those to you.
And the thing so here's the thing that strikes me about Metro Detroit. And sometimes people are apprehended. Like I said a moment ago, the gentleman who killed the 4-year-old and, allegedly killed the 4-year-old, allegedly killed the 18-year-old. Suspects have been apprehended. But it happens far too often where people are not apprehended for the things. I'm talking about abhorrent, egregious crimes that they commit here in the city. And then the person will just be on the run. But you know what happens? Is that it happens so frequently that the next story is the one that catches your attention. And so before you know it, you have forgotten about 20 people who have done egregious things who are just on the run, And then every so often you'll hear someone is apprehended. And I think there's a pretty considerable amount of detective work that goes into apprehending people that are compromising the safety of our community. But let me tell you, it happens a lot. It happens way more than we should be okay with, that people do these types of things and they are seemingly never brought to justice.
And we are working to get those photos right now from Detroit police. But we also learned this is the second incident to happen in the last 24 hours on a DDOT bus, like you see behind me here. Police tell us just last night, a bus driver allegedly stabbed a passenger near 7 Mile and Gratiot.
And that's another thing. Okay, so, and I hate this because it forces us to paint people in with one broad stroke. But I will tell you, the DDOT drivers, they go through a lot, man. Oh, they go through a lot. And I'm actually one of those candidates and one of those people that's running for public office and all this good stuff. God is good. And a lot of our elected officials or those who are running for public office have, gone on these ride-alongs with the public transit advocates. I use DDOT though. You know what I mean? When I'm going places, I use DDOT. I've taken the Woodward to the 460 to the 450 all the way up to Pontiac, Phoenix Center. I've taken the 38 to Livonia. You know what I mean? I ride DDOT. You feel me? So, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to say I always sit in the front of the bus. You feel me? Listen, just hear me out. I am a legitimate, sincere DDOT user. I'm not using DDOT because it's an election season. And so I can tell you from firsthand accounts that our DDOT drivers, our public transit drivers, but particularly our DDOT drivers, they go through a great amount. Not to mention that the drivers in Metro Detroit are not the best. They aren't the best. And so to be, maneuvering this heavy equipment, right, with all manners of evil, with you coming in contact with all manners of evil, I should say, it's a lot. It's a lot. And this is no excuse. That incident, someone being arrested, and we have to look at the details of that incident in order for us to make a determination as to whether that was good or bad, right or wrong. But I can say this. if you've been a DDOT driver and you've been driving DDOT for any period of time, you have more than likely had some traumatic experiences that leave you on edge. You have more than likely been threatened for violence. You have more than likely been threatened, you know, just, and so again, that does not justify what happened because these are case by case scenarios, and so this may have been unprovoked. We don't know. I am speaking to the climate and the conditions that our DDOT drivers work in, and it is a lot. It's a lot.
We are going to be digging into both of these incidents today and also looking into how police are responding to this uptick. For now, live in Detroit, Lauren Kostick, Local 4.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Well, as we can see, the sun is shining bright, and hopefully it stays that way. But Ashley, I know you've been talking to Mike Johnson. He says that he wants chamber. As we look there live, the House is working on President Donald Trump's sweeping budget bill after the Senate narrowly passed it yesterday. The chamber could hold a procedural vote today. Republican lawmakers can only spare 3 votes. However, House Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, he says that he wants a final vote by tomorrow so the president can sign the bill by himself, imposed July 4th deadline. Here in Michigan, the state legislature has missed its own deadline for setting a state budget. Lawmakers are at odds over school funding. Missing the deadline does have consequences for the school districts, which need to know the state's funding plans to set their own budgets before the school year begins. A short time ago, we talked with
the direction of like state politics and local politics here. And obviously, when you focus more on local, you see how dependent it is on the movement and the whims of what's going on at the state level. Nevertheless, we've just got some, like we've got like a melting pot of ideologies here in Metro Detroit, and it really makes for a an unstable, how do you put it? There's no continuity of legislative philosophy, and there's just no quality of legislation because we're the state with like John James. Think about that. We're the state with John James, but we've also, and they're not in the same, veins of government. But I just want you to think holistically about the different minds that we have. Like in a state like New York, get it. Most people are to the left. It just kind of is what it is. You got Zoran Mondani, are coming up in the ranks. Why? Because even though there is a spectrum and there's a left and there's a right, most of the people on the left. Texas, right? You got Ted Cruz, you got the governor, you've got what's his name, Greg Abbott, you've got Ken Paxton. I don't know if he still works there or if he works for the federal government now. But what I'm saying is that the type of legislators that work there, you know what I mean, they are on, or they all lean in the same direction of the ideological, political spectrum here. But Michigan is a legitimate melting pot of like ideologies. You got John James, but you've also got Sharif Thanador. Like, where's this guy from? Who the heck is this guy? Sharif Thanador. Who is he? You got Miss Rashida Tlaib. Okay. But it's like she doesn't like Sharif. But she sure as heck doesn't like John James. But she wouldn't really step forward for Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different like ideologies here in the state of Michigan that it just doesn't really make for a very the continuity of legislative prowess is very up and down, and you can feel it. You can feel it here, and so, man, my suggestion: run for office. Run. You see what I'm doing? Run for office. Listen, that's all we can do is be a part of the change that we want to see. Just run. So what? Run. Because what you'll find when you run for office is that the people that we have allowed to make the decisions as to how our lives are governed, man, these people are slipping through the cracks, you guys. These people are slipping through the cracks. And they decide everything. They decide everything. And so we got to get in the game. We got to get in the game. And the parts and the elements of legislating that we don't understand, we trust our ability to learn. But one thing that we know has been lost and must be restored into the political process is common sense. That we've got plenty of. Can I tell you all of the differences and all of the legislative and judicial power that exists, within the office of the Secretary of State? I can't, actually. But I can tell you with all certainty that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. And that there should be immigration, but it shouldn't be wide open borders. And that there should be, right, quality health care, but whoever doesn't need to use the healthcare system, if you can avoid using the healthcare system, then avoid doing so, because we're going into a time where more people are aging. And so do you get what I'm saying? Like, we just need people with common sense. We need people that don't necessarily make an apology about leaning right or leaning left, but can still break from their pack when they know their pack is doing something that is either intellectually dishonest or just not in the best interest of the people. Nobody's mad at you for being a Democrat or a Republican. It's the fact that you always side with them. It's the fact that it doesn't matter who from the other side has a good idea. You're going to denounce it because it's from the other side. Like, those are the characteristics that we've got to remove from our politics. That the inability to call a ball and a strike. That's what us normal everyday people still have, that our elected officials, they've lost. They have lost the ability to see what's right and what's wrong in spite of the side of the aisle that people present these ideas from. They can't see past the side of the aisle. They can't see past their own agenda, and that's why we've got to run for office. That's why we've got to be a part of the change that we want to see. I think we're out of time today, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and we'll jump through some more of these things a little bit later. We're always responding to the top stories. Again, my name is Whitney Clark. I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council District 5. We need your support. We need your help. We need you to continue to share and spread our message, because we know what we are doing. We are trying to ensure that the conversations that are taking place are the ones that mirror the ones that we're having at our dinner table. Better schools, more safety, a more responsive government. But in order for those conversations to be the conversations that determine who becomes the next mayor and or city council, in order for that to take place, we've got to amplify our voices and put our voices and put our collective followers and put our collective friends and our collective resources together in a way that builds a movement that can't be ignored. And so thank you for sharing this. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for talking. Listen, I could win this race, and I can go on and win the next race, and and I can go on and become the president of the United States, or I could fall flat on my face. Either way it goes, when you look back on my life, I want it to be said that I spent my time and my energy and my resources trying to push my people forward, trying to push our causes forward, trying to fight for better, safer environments for our children. So whether we win or whether we lose, whether we are successful or whether we are not successful, when you look back at our lives and when you talk about who we were and who we were not, remember that we were fighting for our children, and fighting for my children is fighting for yours. Fighting for the safety of my community is fighting for the safety of your community. So judge us on these things. We want to see a better community for our children and for our neighbors and for the elderly people. And we quite frankly don't want it to be so darn hard to make ends meet if you're in the middle of the working class, if you're trying to keep your family on track, if you're trying to get that mortgage paid off, if you're trying to get those cars paid off, if you're trying to get those kids through high school or through college. We don't want it to be so hard on you either. And so that's why we're having these conversations, because this is what matters. This is what's important. This is what's going to make a difference in the quality of life for our children and for our communities. And so, again, thank you for taking a few moments to talk about this stuff. It's not the exciting stuff. You know what I mean? It ain't sexy red. No hate against her, but these are the things that matter to us and to our community. And so, again, my name is Whitney Clark. I'm a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council. You're not going to see my name on the ballot. That's fine. A lot of the greatest opportunities in life, a lot of the greatest things in life, you don't see them. You got to create them. You got to write them in. You got to create a play. I say this and I'll let you go. We've got a great voting base. We've got a great, those who are going to be participating, they are unbiased and they are looking at this race from the perspective of what people can do that has real impact. And we thank you for that. So, again, Whitney Clark, you can visit my website, Whitney Clark, Whitney Clark for Detroit.com. So that's Whitney Clark, as you see on the screen. Then FOR Detroit.com. I'll see you there. Have a great day.